Hey, what's up, casters, reloaders, and shooters? Thanks for joining. This is Kenny from Eagle Eye Shooting, and today we are going to get into the finer details of brass prepping. This is the most important stage in squeezing out the most accuracy out of your hand loads. And we are also going to see how well the Lee Ultimate 4 die set and the 6.5 Creedmoor holds up, and if it can hold up to precision hand loading. I came back from fireforming some brass Starline. I got some small tools that will help out on making the best groups possible out of your hand loads. And we're going to talk about the importance of neck sizing versus full length sizing. Some details about that. So if you're interested, stay tuned and we'll talk about it. So there is a lot of information that we could gather from our fireform brass. I am using the 21st Century Concentricity Gauge. This is a very precision instrument. And when we reload our cartridges, a good cartridge with a good precision cartridge, we want no more than 3,000 run out. So let's see how much we have as it's fireform. Looks like I got roughly 2,000. I got roughly 2,000 run out from the fireform brass. So at this point, do we resize our brass using a full length sizing die, or do we use the collet sizing die, or do we just bump size our brass? Now, this is kind of a controversial debate. What I would say is every time you're working your brass and essentially resizing it, you are affecting its internal volume. The brass is a very malleable metal, but when you work it, you essentially degrade its strength. And if you're on some high pressure loads, as far as being max on the powder charge, there is a big concern there. And if you are at a high pressure cartridge, you could have something called case head separation. This is a very big concern. If anybody has ever experienced case head separation, like I did, it can be a very tedious situation in trying to extract that broken shell. Sometimes it requires disassembling the firearm completely and removing the barrel. So let's talk about it. So I would say, if you can, resize your brass as minimal as possible. Every time you resize the brass, like I said, you're affecting its internal volume, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I'll show you guys on QuickLoad what that could do on your reloads. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead and neck size. We'll see how well this Lee collet neck sizing die works. Here is the regular brass that we measured earlier, and I got about a 2,000th run out. All right. And what I like to do is I go about halfway, and then I spin the cartridge about 180, halfway again, and then go with about 25 pounds of pressure. All right. Now let's measure run out again. Re-zero our gauge. Okay, we'll just use the 5 as a 0. So, all right, so let's see here. I have about, shown here, roughly 1,000 to 1,500 run out. Now, that is very, very good, considering this die set being from Lee. Now, I could probably get that a little lower by basically neck turning my brass. Unfortunately, I don't have that tool yet. So I will say that collet sizing dies, the reason why these seem to work a lot really good is essentially all it does is it clamps and squeezes down the neck. This squeezes down the neck to 262 thousandths, which is 2 thousandths neck tension from the 6.5 bullet. Holding sizing, let's try that. We'll sacrifice one piece of brass. All right, so we got here. So we got roughly, say about 2,000 run out. We throw some case lube on here. And let's switch this over to a full-length sizing die. All right, so I turn the brass. All right, hard to turn the brass. I got some wax on it. There you go. Let's see if I can just do it by hand. Oh, man, that's pretty good. Look at that. Looks like we got roughly 2000s run out also. So I would say that the lead die set, as far as resizing your brass, is very, very good. It's giving me a 2000s run out just on my brass. The neck turning will definitely make a difference. All right, so from here, now you get your brass all trimmed up. What I like to use is the Lee Universal expanding die. And what I have in conjunction with that is the NOE expanding plug. What that's going to do is expand the case neck to exactly 262 thousandths, and it puts a small little bell on top of the case neck. That way you can seat your bullet a lot more uniform. So run through and expands my case neck, and it puts a little bell on top of my case. Show you here, that little bell just makes your cartridge seat nice and straight. That way when you seat your bullet, it's a lot more uniform as possible. So it's a nice little snug fit. So the question now is, did we affect any runout? Let's find out. After using the spinning plug and excising, like this cartridge is right about half run out. So that's really good. Check another one. Right at about one. That's doing really good. So I always wondered if those expanding plugs make a difference, and it seems like it makes it very, very uniform. Very, very excited to see this actually show up on the measure bit. Got about zero run out on that one. From here, so let's talk about sorting our brass. What do we do? Do we weight sort or do we volume sort? All right, so volume sorting versus weight sorting. What are we trying to accomplish here? Basically, when we weight sort our brass, in theory, we are putting the brass in groups that will have essentially the same volume internally. Well, I'm going to show you guys that that is not necessarily correct. And we are going to use a tool called a primer pocket plug. These are roughly $11, around $12 shipped from 21st Century. And all it really is a primer pocket with a O-ring that seals the primer pocket. And you can essentially use a syringe of some sort and some water to actually see what your actual case volume is. Okay, let's compare volume sorting. Here is two pieces of brass that are roughly the same weight, 161.7 and 161.6. And we are going to use the 21st Century shooting primer pocket plug. Tear this out. Okay, check it with the other piece of brass. A little bit of wind inside this trailer, so it's causing my scale to kind of float. All right, so we're going to use a regular syringe. You can pick these up at Walmart, and usually they give them to you for free at the pharmacy section. And start filling up this case with water, see how much case capacity we actually have. Basically, what you want to do is fill in water until you have a slight bubble on the case, and then you're going to wipe off the excess. Now, what's cool about this tool is that it creates a little vacuum seal, so water really doesn't go anywhere. But you can see there, a little bubble, and kind of just wipe it on the rim, and you can see that there is water leveled with the top of the case. So we have a total of 52.3 grains of usable case capacity inside this case. Now, I'll show you the cool thing about this is, I'll show you on camera. Basically, it creates a little vacuum, and essentially all you need to do is just pull the power plug out, and you'll see all the water pop out. So 52.3 grains case capacity on that cartridge. All right, let's see what the second cartridge is. Make sure I'm teared out. All right. Okay. A little bubble. Wipe off the excess. And I am showing 51.9 grains. So this cartridge was 52.5, and this one is 51.9. So that is significantly a little bit of a difference. Do the math there. We are at 0.4 grains difference. And I'll show you guys on the QuickLoad what kind of difference that can make. So essentially, weight sorting your brass doesn't necessarily mean that all the brass is exactly the same. If you neck size or bump size your brass, you essentially affect the internal volume of the case, and you didn't remove any brass or anything. So one case could weigh exactly the same, but the internal dimensions were changed because of the sizing. So that being said, weight sorting does, in fact, get you a pretty close number of getting your cartridges all within the same spec or same uniformity. But essentially, you want to do volume sorting, and that is going to essentially sort out your cases to exactly the same volume. And I wouldn't mess with actually, weight sorting your brass. You want to volume sort your brass, and the reason for it is like having a unbalanced compression engine. You could have 182 psi on one cylinder on your engine, the other one have 170, and just that little bit of a difference will make your engine run like crap. So same scenario, volume changing, your different variances in your volume does make the combustion react a little different on the powder. And I'll show you that on the QuickLoad program.
Alright, so here's QuickLoad. This is a cool little tool. It's a program that you could download. Kind of pricey, but it's well worth its weight in gold. Here I got the 6.5 Creedmoor listed, and it gives it in SAMI spec. It's listed at 63,091 max pressure on this cartridge. And I have here selected the Bowtail Hollow Point Hornady 140 grain. You can pretty much mess around with a lot of factors: your cartridge overall length, case length, groove diameter, yada yada, your barrel length. But more importantly, I'm going to go over what we found today with the volume. SAMI spec listed as 53.5 grains of usable case volume, and we found out that here at my sea level that I'm actually at right now, I'm only able to have 52.5, so I'm 1 grain short. And I don't have 4451, but I'm going to use 4350 as an example. I put a input charge of 43 grains and did a apply and calculate, and what it does, it calculates your pressure curve, and it's showing that with this powder charge and overall length with this cartridge at the SAMI spec case volume, I'm right at 58,917 psi on that cartridge. That's pretty high. That's sitting right under max pressure, so technically I may be getting some pressure signs here. It's showing a 2,754 FPS on muzzle velocity. So we found out that my case capacity was 52.5. So let's check this out. Let me input a 52.5 and keep all the other variables exactly the same. apply and calculate, and now we're even higher on your chamber pressure. Now I'm at 61,623 psi, which is just shy of brand new brass that is rated at 63,000 psi. So that is in the danger zone, and you can see there your muzzle velocity of 2779. So let's take this for instance. I shot this round and it had exactly these numbers: 52.5 grains of case capacity, and then we found out the other one was 52.1, had a 0.4 grain difference, right? So let's put 52.1 grains of case capacity, same powder charge, same overall length, and now you can see there pressure went up even more. I'm at 62,776. That is really bad. I'm sitting right under the pressure, max pressure. Also, check it out, my muzzle velocity increased again, 2,790. So this is where you're going to get your standard deviation and extreme spread numbers to be higher, and all to do with your case capacity, just that little bit of a difference. So weight sorting does get you in that region of getting your brass close to uniform as possible, but volume sorting is going to be exactly what you want to do. 52.5 grains, if I shot every single one, if I'm at a accuracy node and my harmonics are right there at 0 resonance on the barrel tip, I'm technically going to get, hopefully if everything goes correctly with the same friction, I mean there's more factors involved, but my FPS should be roughly the same, 2779. So to go back with resizing your brass, here's another thing. So you're going to resize your brass. You pretty much affected your case volume, and you are now lower in charge. And also you essentially degraded your brass, because now you work the brass, and like all metals, like I said, will eventually break. If I'm at a 43 grain charge, I essentially resize my brass, and I have, for instance, a case capacity of 50. Let's do 50 point. Let's do 51.1. That's not too far away, but I apply and calculate, and now I'm over max. So you load develop your round, and you found an accuracy node right around 43 grains, and you resize your brass, and it essentially increased your headspace and degraded your brass. Now you are at a zone, and you could potentially have a case head separation. What I would suggest, like I said, is basically not sizing your brass, and to keep the sizing down as minimal as possible, because this does show right here as an example what that does. And if you're needing to resize your brass in order to have reliable chamber feeding, if you're in a semi-auto, I would highly recommend keeping away from your max charge listed. That way you don't get into the zone and have yourself a case head separation. And just showing you guys on the computer and this little program here, which is I find it to be very helpful. It does get very close to my case, or to my muzzle velocity according to my chrono, and that is to do with me sorting my brass with volume sorting and inputting it here, as well as all the other variables, case overall length, and yada yada. So there we go, guys. That's my little take on sizing brass and the potential danger that could be involved. Well, folks, I appreciate you guys sticking around, and I know it's been a long video, and I apologize about the audio. I was trying out a new headset. But before I close this video, I wanted to show you guys basically how well the Lee full-length sizing die works. And what I'm finding out with the brand new Starline brass, actually with this brand new brass, there is quite a bit of run out that's involved in this brass. So here's two random pieces of brass, and I'll show you guys basically what's why you want to full-length size your brass if you get brand new Starline brass. So, and this is consistent with all the brand new brass that I got. So you can see there is a crazy amount of sweep, roughly 5 or 6 thousandths, or sorry, around 8 thousandths of run out. Let's try this one. That's nuts. Look at that. Yeah, that's close to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 thousandths run out. That's horrible for precision shooting. So what I'll do is I'll full length size this, throw some case lube, throw it through the full length sizing die, and hold it for a little bit because brass does have a little bit of spring back. And let's see how much this approved it. So took the excess case lube off. All right. Yep, that improved it quite a bit. Check that out. I have roughly about three thousandths run out, or close to 4 thousandths, without fire forming the brass. So it went from a 9 thousandths run out to about 3 thousandths, and without fire forming. And let me just throw it through a collet die, see if it does any more improvement there. All right. Roughly the same. So fire forming your brass does make it more concentric, and you know, lessening run out. But overall, the lead dies work really good. You could definitely get away and get some precision loads. Alright, so one thing I love about the NOE expanding plug is that it makes your you know, bullet start very straight, and makes it easier to seat the bullet. So you know, it gives it a very good start. So what I like to do for seating the bullet, this method's been around for actually quite a long while. It's basically you will seat your bullet halfway, turn the case, seat it more, and then you can either do this in 3 concessions or, you know, in 2. Gianni G, his channel, he's been doing this for a while, and it's proven to me that it does make a big difference on your concentration. Pretty much just eliminates the run out issues with your seating dies. A lot of folks complain that the Lee bullet seating die doesn't, you know, leaves a mark, and thus it's not really seating your bullets you know, pretty straight. But I'm finding this method to work pretty good. So like I said, we're going to go up and we are going to seat halfway. I'm going to turn it about 90 degrees and about 90 degrees again, and give it a nice good firm seat. I'm going to be going off of 7 thousandths off my lands. That's going to be 2.914, and 7 thousandths off of that, so 2.907 is what I'm going for. And since there's a little bit of a bell using the NOE plug, I just basically set the factory crimp die from the Ultimate 4 die set just to take that bell off, and not necessarily give any kind of crimp at all. It just basically just squeezes it back down to being straight again. So same thing. Every single time I do any of this, I turn the bullet case about 3 times. Here's a completed cartridge. Let's see how much run out we actually have on the bullet itself. Okay, let's see what we got. I got virtually 1 thousandths, about 1.5, 2 thousandths run out total on this cartridge, which is extremely good. Like I said, you want to be approximately 3 thousandths max for some precision loads. Now, why is there a big emphasis on run out? Well, basically run out will determine how well the bullet is going to be aligned with your barrel. If you essentially have a bullet that is cocked before firing, the bullet will essentially swage and engage more of the rifling on one side, which will cause unbalancing. Kind of the same concept of having an unbalanced tire going down the freeway. You'll see it just wobbling and bouncing up and forth, back and forth. And that's essentially the same concept. So you basically want to keep your bullet as straight as possible as you fire it through the barrel. And thus that will supposedly give you the best accuracy if you found a perfect harmonic on your barrel. Well guys, I really hope that this helped you out. This informed you a lot about prepping your brass, and there's a lot of information, and I appreciate you guys sticking it out. If you have any suggestions, comments, put a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. As far as these lead die set, I personally believe that these lead die sets are perfect enough for doing precision loads. And we'll take this out to the range on the next video to see how well this does. And hopefully I can get down to half MOA. That's my goal. But folks, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys being part of this community. You guys are awesome. I can't do this without you guys' support. And like I said, if there's any suggestions, feel free to ask and feel free to comment. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I can't wait to take this out long range. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.